I never imagined my daughter-in-law would raise her hand against me. But that morning she didn't just slap me. She tried to take my home, my safety, and my dignity in one single blow. Before I begin, make sure to subscribe, leave a like, and tell me where in the world you're watching this story from. Now, let me take you back to the moment everything started falling apart. My name is Margaret, and until recently, I thought my relationship with my son's wife, Chloe, was at least polite. Not warm, not affectionate, but manageable. The kind of relationship where you choose your words carefully. You smile even when you don't feel like it, and you pretend everything is fine for the sake of peace. But I was wrong. So wrong. It began on a quiet Sunday morning. I had just finished watering the plants in the backyard, enjoying the cool air and the soft sound of birds. I was still in my robe, my hair tied messily, when I heard knocking at the front door. Not normal knocking, pounding. The kind of heavy, angry thuds that make your stomach tighten before you even know why. I dried my hands on my robe and walked to the door, expecting maybe a delivery driver or a neighbor in distress. Instead, I found Chloe. She stood there with wild eyes, as if she had run straight from an argument. Her hair was scattered around her shoulders, her breathing fast, her cheeks flushed red. And behind that fury, something darker. Something I would only understand later. "Chloe, what happened?" I asked, genuinely concerned. She didn't answer. She walked straight past me. Not stepped, stormed, shoving my shoulder as she entered my living room. I stumbled, confused. "Where are my keys?" she snapped. "Your keys." "What keys?" "My house keys," she spat. "The ones you're going to hand over to me." For a moment, I just stared at her, speechless. My house. My keys. She had no right to any of it. This was the home I built with my late husband, the place where my children grew up, the last piece of stability I still held. And she was demanding it like she was ordering a coffee. "What are you talking about?" I asked, trying to keep my voice calm. "Chloe, this is my home, not yours." That was the moment everything shifted. Her eyes narrowed, her jaw tightened, and she stepped toward me with a coldness I had never seen before. "Your son promised it to me," she hissed. "He said once you move to a retirement home, this house becomes ours. So I need the keys. Now." I felt my heart drop. Not because I believed her, I didn't, but because she spoke with such certainty that I knew she wasn't bluffing. Someone had put this idea in her head. And the only person who could have was my son. "Chloe," I said softly, "no one is moving me anywhere. And this house is not yours." She didn't even let me finish. Her hand flew toward my face so fast I barely saw it coming. The sound echoed through the room like a gunshot. My cheek burned instantly, and for a split second the world tilted. I touched my face, stunned, unable to believe what had just happened. Chloe stood inches from me, chest heaving, eyes glowing with a rage that seemed older than whatever argument she had just left. "You will not get in the way," she growled. "Give me the keys before things get worse." I took a step back, trying to create distance between us. My hands shook, my breath caught somewhere between shock and fear. "Chloe, you need to leave," I whispered. But she didn't leave. She moved closer. "I'm not going anywhere," she said. "Not until you hand over what's mine." That's when she reached into her purse. Froze. Was she grabbing a weapon? Pepper spray. Something worse. My blood ran cold, but what she pulled out wasn't a weapon. It was a piece of paper. Folded. Crumpled. Torn on the edges like it had been stuffed into her bag during a fight. She threw it onto my coffee table. "Read it," she ordered. My hands trembled as I unfolded the paper. I recognized the handwriting instantly. My son's. But the moment I saw the contents, my stomach twisted painfully. It was a written statement, a personal agreement signed by him, stating that upon his mother's relocation or incapacitation, the house would pass to him and Chloe. And even worse, claimed I had agreed to it. My breath caught, felt dizzy. I felt betrayed. This isn't real," I whispered. "I never signed anything like this." "Doesn't matter," she said smugly. "We have it. And the only thing missing now Is the keys. She lunged again, and I stepped back, my legs hitting the edge of the sofa. My heart pounded so loudly I could barely hear her words anymore. She wasn't just angry. She wasn't just unhinged. She was dangerous. And she wasn't leaving without a fight. At that moment, something inside me shifted. Instinct, maybe. Survival. The understanding that the person in front of me wasn't family, wasn't safe, wasn't stable. She was a threat. And this was only the beginning. Her scream echoed inside my skull long after the words left her mouth. Standing on my porch, breathing fast like a cornered animal, Emily stared at me with a mixture of rage, desperation, and something else I couldn't quite name. Fear, maybe. Or guilt. "Where is he, Helen?" she insisted, stepping closer. "Don't you dare lie to me." I raised my hand slowly, the way someone does when facing a wild creature that might attack again. "I'm not lying to you," I said, keeping my voice as steady as I could. "Daniel left early. He said he had a project to finish." The moment his name left my lips, she let out a sharp, bitter laugh. "Oh, so that's what he told you. Project. Do you honestly think your son is working right now?" I frowned. "Emily, what are you talking about?" Her eyes filled with tears. Not soft, quiet tears, but those angry tears that come when someone is boiling inside. She stepped even closer, gripping the collar of her jacket with both hands as if holding herself together physically. "He's cheating on me," she said. My heart dropped. Those words, sharp, heavy, poisonous, fell between us like a stone. I blinked, stunned. I knew their marriage had been strained, but cheating. My Daniel. My gentle, quiet boy who once cried because he accidentally stepped on a ladybug. "He wouldn't," I whispered, barely able to hear my own voice. "Oh, he would," she yelled, pointing a trembling finger at me. "And and you knew it. You knew it, and you kept it from me." I stepped back, horrified. "I didn't know anything," I said firmly. "Emily, I swear to you." But she didn't let me finish. Her hand flew up again, and for a moment I thought she would slap me a second time. Instead, she jabbed a finger toward my face. "Stop pretending. Stop acting like the sweet, innocent mother-in-law. I know he's hiding here. I know he's been using your house to cheat on me." That accusation hit me harder than the slap had. "No one is cheating here," I insisted. "Daniel only comes here to sleep when you two argue. That's it." She scoffed loudly. "You really think I believe that? He disappears at night, doesn't answer my calls, leaves early, comes back late, and every time he's here, apparently. What a coincidence, right?" She was spiraling, and her voice grew louder with every sentence. "Emily, please." I reached gently toward her arm, but she jerked away like my touch burned her. "You're lying to protect him. And now you're going to give me the keys," she said, extending her hand. "Give me the house keys right now. I want to see what's inside." I shook my head. "You can't burst into my home like this. Please calm down. Daniel is not here." She clenched her jaw. "Then prove it." Before I could reply, she tried to push past me toward the door. I grabbed her arm instinctively. Not to hurt her, not even to restrain her, only to stop her from invading my home, but she pulled away violently and stumbled back a step. And that's when she said the sentence that made my blood run cold. "If you don't give me those keys, it means you're hiding him. And if you're hiding him, Helen, I swear to God, I will ruin your life." I stared at her, stunned, speechless. Ruin my life. For something I didn't even do. At that moment, I began to realize something terrifying. This wasn't just anger. This wasn't just jealousy. Something deeper and darker was eating away at her. Something irrational. "Emily," I said carefully, "please listen to me. Daniel is at work. There is no one inside. Come in calmly, and I'll show you." She hesitated. Her breath slowed slightly. For a moment I thought she might agree. Then my phone rang. And everything changed again. She snapped her head toward my pocket, eyes widening with furious suspicion. "Is that him?" she hissed. "Is that him? It's probably." She lunged at me and grabbed the phone from my hand before I could react. When she looked at the caller ID, her entire face twisted. It was Daniel. Without hesitation, she answered, voice dripping with venom. "Where are you?" I could hear his confused voice through the speaker, faint but unmistakably calm. "At work." "Why are you answering my mom's phone?" Emily laughed, a fractured, chilling sound. "You're a liar. Pathetic liar. I know exactly where you are." "Emily, what are you talking about?" "I'm at the office." "No, you're not," she snapped. "You're cheating on me again, and you're doing it here, in your mother's house." Daniel's voice grew louder, panicked. "What? Mom, are you there? What's happening?" She ended the call abruptly and threw the phone onto the porch floor. Cracked on impact. Gasp. "Emily!" She didn't care. She turned to me with wild eyes. "I want them keys." I stood my ground. For the first time in my life, I raised my voice at her. "No." Her face contorted with shock, as if she had never expected me to defy her. And then she whispered something low, something so chilling it made my stomach twist. "If you don't give them to me, I'll call the police and tell them you're hiding stolen property from me." "Stolen what?" I stuttered. "My marriage," she said. I stared at her, heartbeat pounding through my skull. She was unraveling completely, and I had no idea how to stop it. Then she reached into her pocket and pulled out something that made my entire body go numb. A folded sheet of paper. A legal document. She shook it in my face. "You think I'm crazy. You think I don't know what I'm doing," she shouted. "This proves everything." Froze. Because despite her unhinged behavior, I recognized the logo on the paper. It was from a lawyer's office. And that meant whatever she was about to accuse Daniel or me of, it was officially documented. My hands began to shake. "Emily, what is that?" I whispered. She smirked, eyes filled with triumph. "Proof," she said. "And when you see what's inside, Helen, you're going to wish you had given me those keys." She unfolded the paper slowly, theatrically. And as the words became visible, my heart collapsed into a cold, heavy knot. Because the document wasn't about cheating. It wasn't about a divorce. It wasn't even addressed to Daniel. It was addressed to me. And it claimed I had committed something I never imagined in my worst nightmares. Something that could destroy not just my reputation, but my entire life. I held that paper like it might burn straight through my fingers. My hands trembled so violently that the edges fluttered in the air. Emily watched me with a strange satisfaction, her breathing ragged, her eyes swollen from crying and rage. What is this supposed to be?" I asked, my voice barely audible. "You can read, can't you?" she snapped. I did read. And at first, my brain refused to understand what my eyes were seeing. The words blurred for a moment, but when they settled, I felt a cold wave of disbelief sweep through me. It was a legal notice stating that I, the woman who had cooked her meals, helped with her wedding planning, and drove her to doctor appointments, had allegedly interfered in their marriage, concealed information, and created conditions that led to emotional harm. I had been officially accused of domestic interference. I didn't even know that was something someone could accuse a mother-in-law of. But there it was, typed out neatly, with a lawyer's signature at the bottom. I don't understand," I whispered. Emily crossed her arms tightly. "Oh, I understand perfectly. While I've been going insane trying to figure out why my husband is destroying our marriage, you've been protecting him, lying to me, covering up his cheating, and turning him against me." My jaw dropped. "Emily, that's not true." "Really?" She leaned forward. "Then why does he disappear? Why does he always come here after we fight? Why doesn't he want me near this house? Why do you always defend him?" I shook my head quickly. "That doesn't mean he's cheating. Couples go through things. Sometimes he just needs to be away from me," she snapped. "Is that what you're implying?" "No," I said. "You're twisting my words." But I could see already that it didn't matter what I said. Her mind was somewhere else, a place where logic couldn't reach her. "You're listed as a witness," I pointed at the paper. "How? When did you speak to a lawyer?" She smiled coldly. "Last week. Last week. But last week." My sentence broke off. Because last week was when Daniel had spent 2 nights at my house, exhausted, crying, saying he couldn't keep fighting with her. Had she seen him leave? Followed him? Taken photos? Constructed this entire narrative in her mind? "Emily, what exactly did you tell this lawyer?" I asked carefully. "The truth," she said. "That you're enabling him. That you're helping him hide from his responsibilities. That you're helping him." She stopped abruptly and pressed her lips together. "Helping him what?" Pushed. Her eyes darted away for the first time since she arrived. That scared me more than anything she had said. "Emily, what aren't you telling me?" She took a shaky breath. "If you won't give me the keys, I'll tell you. But understand this. You brought it on yourself." I swallowed hard. "I'm not giving you keys to my home based on an accusation. Tell me." She hesitated, her throat bobbing as she swallowed. Finally, she leaned in and whispered 4 words that nearly made my knees buckle. "He got someone pregnant." My breath caught in my chest like a stone. "No." I shook my head immediately. "No, that's not possible. Daniel would have told me. He wouldn't hide something like that." "Oh really?" she spat. "He didn't tell you he's cheating either, did he?" She thought she had trapped me, cornered me with her own twisted logic. But I knew my son. Even if he made mistakes, even if their marriage was strained, Daniel wasn't a liar. Not like this. Not to this level. "Who told you this?" I asked quietly. "I found messages." "What messages?" Her nostrils flared, and she started digging in her purse. Her hands shook as she pulled out her phone, scrolling fast through her gallery. Then she shoved the screen up to my face. There were photos, screenshots, text. A conversation between Daniel and someone listed only as unknown. The messages were short. "Unknown. You can't hide from this forever. Daniel, I'm figuring it out. Please don't do anything yet. Unknown. I'm not waiting much longer. Unknown, I told you I'm late." My chest tightened. It looked bad. Anyone would think the same thing Emily did. But there was something off. Something wrong. "These could be fake," I said after a moment. She laughed sharply. "Really, Helen? You think I spent hours faking text messages instead of dealing with my marriage falling apart?" "I don't know," cried. "But something is wrong here. None of this adds up." She shoved the phone back into her pocket and wiped her face angrily. "You're just like him," she muttered. "Always denying, always protecting, always pretending nothing is wrong." A sudden gust of wind blew between us, sending a chill through my bones. The sky had darkened, clouds rolling in, a perfect mirror of how everything in my life felt at that moment. "What exactly do you expect me to do?" I asked. "I expect you to give me the keys," she said flatly. "If he's not here, then why are you afraid to let me inside?" "I'm afraid because you're out of control," I answered honestly. "You slapped me. You threatened me. You came here with papers accusing me of interfering in your marriage. And you want me to just let you walk in." She took a step closer, her voice low. "If you don't give me those keys, I will go straight to the police station and tell them everything. I'll tell them you've been hiding Daniel. I'll tell them you destroyed evidence. I'll tell them you've been covering up his cheating and enabling him to abandon me." "That's not true," I whispered. "It doesn't matter," she shot back. "Because with these messages, the lawyer's notice, and his recent disappearance, they'll listen to me. They'll believe me." My heart pounded so painfully I had to press a hand to my chest. "You're threatening to ruin my life," I said quietly, "because you think my son cheated on you." "No," she corrected, her voice quivering. "I'm doing this because he ruined my life. And you helped him." I stared at her, really stared, and for the first time since this nightmare began, I saw it clearly. She wasn't just angry. She wasn't just hurt. She was terrified, Terrified of losing him. Terrified of being alone. Terrified of whatever she had convinced herself was happening. And terrified of something else. Something she still wasn't telling me. "Emily," I said gently, "please. Let's go inside. Sit down. You're shaking. You need—" "I don't need anything from you," she yelled, her voice cracking. "I need the truth." Her scream echoed down the street. 2 neighbors peeked out their windows. Shame washed over me. Humiliation. Fear. Not for myself, but for my son. Because if Emily was willing to go this far, slap me, accuse me, bring legal papers, scream in the street, then I could only imagine what she was capable of doing next. Before I could respond, she suddenly stepped back, her face draining of color. She looked over my shoulder, toward the driveway. And for the first time that day, she looked genuinely afraid. "Helen," she whispered. Turned slowly, and my breath caught in my throat. Because Daniel was standing there, his face pale, his hands shaking. His eyes wide with something between horror and disbelief. He had heard everything. And he wasn't alone. There was someone standing behind him. Someone I never expected to see. Daniel stood at the end of the driveway, his chest rising and falling in sharp, uneven breaths. His face was pale enough to match the overcast sky, like the life had been drained from him in a single moment. But what truly froze my blood was the figure standing just behind him. Woman. Nervous. Early 30s maybe. Wearing a navy blue jacket and holding a folder tight against her chest, as if afraid it might fly away. She wasn't touching Daniel. She wasn't even standing close enough for it to look suspicious. But her presence alone at that moment was enough to set Emily off like a lit fuse. Emily's voice came out strangled. Who is that?" Daniel didn't answer right away. He just looked at me. Not Emily, me. His mother. As if begging me to help him, to anchor him, to tell him what to say or do. But I had no words. "Daniel," I whispered. "What's going on?" He swallowed hard, his Adam's apple jerking. "Mom, I need you both to calm down. Please." Emily let out a broken laugh. Calm down. Calm down. You disappear for 2 days, your mother protects you like a criminal hiding from the police, and then you show up with—" she pointed at the woman. "Her." The woman stepped back instinctively, holding her folder tighter. Daniel rubbed his face, muttering, "God, this is not what it looks like." "Then explain it," Emily screamed, her voice cracking under all the pressure building inside her. He exhaled shakily. "Her name is Julia. She works for the airline." Emily blinked, confused for a second. Then suspicion filled her expression again just as fast. "What airline?" she demanded. Daniel let out a defeated breath. "Mine." The woman, Julia, gave a small, awkward wave, as if that would somehow make the moment less catastrophic. But Emily's face twisted into sheer betrayal. "You brought a co-worker here. To what? Help you move out. Help you hide from me. Help you pack before you run off with your mistress." Julia's eyes widened. "Oh no. No, I'm not. I'm not his." "Emily, stop," Daniel cut in, his voice firm for the first time since he arrived. "She's not my mistress. I swear to you she has nothing to do with this." Emily gave me a wild look, as if begging me to see what she saw, to validate her fury. But I couldn't. "Not yet." "Daniel," I said quietly, "why is she here?" He closed his eyes as though the answer physically hurt him. "She's here because of the investigation." Emily stiffened. I felt my stomach drop. "What investigation?" I asked carefully. Julia stepped forward, her voice surprisingly gentle. "Mrs. Thompson, I'm so sorry. I tried to tell him this should have been handled in a formal meeting, not like this, but he insisted on coming straight here." "To my house?" I asked. "Yes," she said softly. "He thought it would be better if everyone heard the truth at once." "The truth?" Emily snapped. "You mean the truth about the pregnant woman? Or the cheating? Or the mysterious messages? Or the restraining order? Or Daniel spun toward her. Emily, for God's sake, stop. Stop talking about things you don't understand. Then explain it, she shouted back. He hesitated too long. Far too long. Emily's breathing grew louder, faster, almost unhinged. Daniel, who is she to you? He looked at Emily, then at me, then back at Julia. And he said the words that made everything inside me tense at once. She's the one who sent the messages. Silence. Absolute silence. Emily's face drained of color. You're the one who said you were late. Julia blinked. Oh no. No, that wasn't me. That part wasn't from my number. I meant the other messages. What other messages? Yes. Daniel ran a hand through his hair. Mom. Someone's been using my credentials at work. Logging into the system as me. Entering flights under my ID when I'm not even on duty. And last week, there was an unauthorized access to the secure crew database. What does that have to do with me? Emily cried. Or with your mother? Because whoever it is, Daniel said, knows things about my schedule. About where I am. About where I stay when we fight. He glanced at me. They knew I was here last week. My heart pounded. So you think someone is following you? Julia nodded. That's why I'm here. The airline is treating it as a personnel security issue. Emily shook her head violently. No, this is ridiculous. You're trying to make me look crazy. This is what cheaters do. They lie, they twist things, they create stories. She choked on her own breath. Emily, I said softly, those messages you found, where did you get them? She reached into her purse again, her hands trembling, and pulled out her phone. From this number, she said. The number he's been texting for months. Daniel stepped toward her, his voice low. Emily, that's not my number. Yes it is, she snapped. It's saved under your name. Saved by you, Emily, he said gently. Anyone can change a contact name. She froze. Her eyes darted back and forth as her brain fought to process what he was saying. Julia carefully opened her folder. Inside were printed pages. Logs, screenshots, system entries, timestamps. This is Daniel's official flight schedule, she said, handing me one of the papers. And this, she pulled out another, is the list of unauthorized logins using his ID. I looked at the dates, times, the locations. Every unauthorized login happened while Daniel was at my house. Emily took one look, then backed away like the papers were dangerous. No, she whispered. No, this doesn't make sense. Emily, Daniel said slowly, walking toward her. Someone set me up. And whoever it is. They wanted you to think I was cheating. She shook her head, her voice barely a breath. But why? Why would anyone do that? Daniel opened his mouth to answer, but then stopped. Because we all heard it at the same time. Car door closing. Not on the street. In my backyard. We all turned toward the sound together. The fence gate moved. Footsteps approached. Low. Heavy. Intentional. Daniel instinctively stepped in front of me. Emily clutched her handbag to her chest. Julia stiffened like a startled deer. Then, a shadow appeared at the side of the house, followed by a figure I recognized immediately. Someone who absolutely should not have been there. Anna was not at work. That single thought kept replaying in my mind like a broken record, beating louder than my own pulse. My son's voice faded into static. The call ended. And suddenly, the house felt even quieter than before. The kind of quiet that has weight, shape, and intention. I walked back to the living room trying to calm myself, but every instinct in me was screaming. If Anna wasn't at work, if the attic ladder was down, if the windows were unlocked, then she had been here, inside, again. I tried to steady my breathing, but something caught my eye near the bookshelf, something that hadn't been there the night before. A small folded paper, tucked crookedly between two photo frames. It was so out of place that I knew immediately it was left for me. My stomach tightened. I reached for it with hesitant fingers. The paper was thick, almost like stationery, and the handwriting on the front was unmistakably Anna's. Just my name. Only my name. I swallowed hard and opened it. Inside, written in a sharp, rushed scrawl, were 5 words that made my entire body go cold. Stay out of the attic. Please. There was no explanation. No signature. No threat. Just that one desperate plea. But the please is what unhinged me. Anna had never said please to me in her life. My hands shook as I read it again and again, trying to understand if it was a warning or a manipulation. Trying to understand whether she had left it out of fear or out of control. Had she been hiding something in my attic? Was someone else hiding there? Or worse, was she hiding from someone? The walls of my own home suddenly felt too tight, too close. I backed away from the shelf, staring at the note like it might catch fire. I needed answers. Against my better judgment, I walked back toward the attic ladder. The wooden steps looked even darker than before, disappearing into the narrow opening above. I took one step up. The house creaked. Another step. Then another. Halfway up, a faint sound drifted down from the attic. Soft, almost like cloth brushing against the floorboards. I froze, heart slamming against my ribs. Someone was up there. Someone who shouldn't be. But before I could climb further, my phone buzzed. The sudden vibration nearly made me lose my footing. I grabbed the rail and looked at the screen. Text. From my son. Just one sentence. Mom, whatever you do, do not go into the attic. My blood ran cold. He never texted like that. He never used that tone with me. I typed back immediately. Why? What's happening? 3 dots appeared. Vanished. Appeared again. Then finally his message popped up. Because Anna is missing. 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 The word echoed through my skull like a warning bell. If she was missing, then who or what was in my attic? My son's message, because Anna is missing, echoed through my chest like thunder trapped under my ribs. For a moment I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. It felt as though the house itself was holding its breath with me, waiting for my next step, my next mistake. I climbed down from the attic ladder as quietly as I could, though every rung creaked like a scream. My hands shook so violently I had to grip the wall just to steady myself. The note from Anna was still crumpled in my palm, the paper damp with sweat. I opened it again, as if it might suddenly make sense. As if the word please might explain itself. But the attic above me was no longer just a dark space. It was a threat, presence, something alive. I forced myself to walk away, retreating to the kitchen where the light felt brighter and the walls less suffocating. Called my son immediately. He answered on the first ring. Mom. His voice was breathless, strained. You didn't go up there, did you? No, I whispered. But someone is up there. I heard something. A long silence followed. Not the normal kind, but the kind where someone is trying to choose their words carefully. Listen, he finally said. Don't go near the attic. Don't touch anything. I'm calling the police. Stay downstairs and stay where you can see the exits. Why? I demanded. Why wouldn't Anna be at work? Why would she leave a note telling me to stay away from the attic? And what do you mean missing? I don't know everything yet, he said, voice tight. But they said she didn't show up to her shift last night. And they can't reach her. I closed my eyes, pressing the bridge of my nose. The truth was beginning to form, but I didn't want to accept it. Not yet. And the house? Yes. You think she's been coming inside? I know she has, he said quietly. Mom. I installed cameras outside for a reason. My heart thudded painfully. Cameras. Why didn't you tell me? Before he could answer, my doorbell rang. Sharp, urgent chime. He jolted. Someone's here. That's them, he said. I called the police. Mom, please. Don't open the door until they identify themselves. I approached cautiously. Through the peephole, 2 officers stood on my porch, a man and a woman, both looking uneasy, which did nothing to calm me. I opened the door slowly. Ma'am, the female officer said. We received a report about a possible break-in and a missing person connected to this residence. May we come inside? I let them in, explaining everything from the note to the attic sounds. They immediately moved toward the hallway, their hands resting near their holsters. Stay back, ma'am, the male officer said. We're going to check the attic first. I watched from the living room doorway as they climbed the ladder. My pulse hammered so hard I felt dizzy. The house was too quiet, too still. The female officer reached the top first. Her flashlight cut through the darkness. Clear on the left, she called out. The male officer stepped inside next. Nothing on the right. Storage boxes, old furniture. His voice trailed off. Wait, what's that? My stomach twisted. The beam of his flashlight froze on something at the far corner. Is that rope? The female officer asked. He moved closer. And blankets. Looks like someone's been sleeping up here. My hands flew to my mouth. Sleeping. In my attic. The male officer crouched down. Fresh. The blankets are warm. Warm. Warm meant recent. Warm meant minutes ago. My legs nearly buckled. The officers descended from the attic quietly, exchanging looks before turning to me. Ma'am, the woman said, someone has definitely been staying in your attic. Recently. Possibly within the last hour. I felt the world tilt, as if gravity itself had shifted under my feet. Was it Anna? Asked weakly. We can't say for sure, she replied. But based on what your son told Dispatch, she does have access to the property. Do you know if she has a key? No, I whispered. At least, I didn't think so. The male officer gently guided me to sit down. Ma'am, we need to ask, has she ever shown signs of instability? Paranoia? Aggression? I almost laughed. Bitterly. Signs. She slapped me across the face and demanded my house keys 2 days ago. That changed their expressions instantly. The female officer knelt in front of me. That's significant. Combined with the attic entries, the missing status, and the note you found. This is more than a simple domestic issue. The male officer asked, Where's the note? I handed it to him. He studied it for several seconds, brow tightening with concern. This handwriting is rushed, he murmured. And the tone suggests fear. Not intimidation. Fear. The word hit me like a physical blow. Fear of what? Or who? The officers stepped aside to speak to each other in low voices. I couldn't hear much, but I caught fragments. Doesn't match typical intruder behavior. She might not be acting alone. The attic bedding is arranged carefully, like a nest. Check the basement next. A chill slid down my spine. The basement. They moved toward the door leading downstairs. I followed them instinctively, but the male officer stopped me with a firm hand. Please stay here. If someone is inside your home, we can't risk you coming with us. I watched as they disappeared into the darkness below, their flashlights cutting thin beams through the stairwell. Every creak of the wooden steps echoed like a warning. Minutes passed. Long minutes. Too long. Then a sound from the basement. Thud. A muffled shout. And then something else. A step. Running. The stairs. West. Ma'am, stay back, the male officer yelled. My blood went cold. Because someone heavy, frantic, breathing hard, was charging up those steps toward us. Heard me. And when the figure finally burst into view, it wasn't Anna. It was someone I had never seen before. Stranger. Man. With wild eyes. And my son's spare house key dangling from his fingers. I didn't sleep the night after the police found the signs of someone living in my attic. I kept replaying everything in my head. The slap, the demand for my house keys, Anna's strange warnings, the noise above my ceiling. And now, a man none of us recognized running out of my basement like some kind of hunted animal. Morning came only because the sun insisted on rising. I felt my body move, but I was still numb, still floating above my own life. My son Daniel had stayed on the living room couch, his phone on his chest, waiting for updates from the police or any call from Anna. But there was nothing. Around 7 there was a knock at the door. Not the gentle kind 3 firm taps that made me jump. It was Officer Carson again. "Ma'am, we need to talk," he said. "We found something." He stepped inside with a tablet in his hand. Daniel got up immediately, rubbing sleep from his eyes. "What is it? Did you find Anna?" he asked. Carson shook his head. "No. But we identified the man who ran from your basement." A chill climbed down my back like a slow-moving insect. He pressed play on the tablet. The footage was grainy, from a security camera position somewhere behind my house, something I never knew existed. The man appeared on screen, tall, thin, wearing a black hoodie. His movements were frantic, desperate. He bent down and picked up something metallic from the ground, a key. My key. My spare key I kept hidden under an old ceramic pot. "How did he know where to find that?" I whispered. Carson paused the video and zoomed in on the man's face. Not enough to see details clearly, but the shape was undeniable. "His name is Colin Harris," he said. "He has a record. Breaking and entering, stalking, and a restraining order filed against him last year." My son stiffened. "By who?" Daniel demanded, though something in his voice said he already feared the answer. Carson sighed. "By your wife, Anna." The room fell silent. Felt my legs weaken. I lowered myself onto the armchair like my bones suddenly couldn't hold me. Daniel looked stunned, betrayed by information he didn't know existed. "That's impossible. Anna never mentioned any stalker," he muttered. "She never said anything about a restraining order." "She wouldn't necessarily," Carson replied. "Some victims don't. They're afraid of involving their family, or they think it will make things worse." I remembered the note Anna had left in the attic. "Don't trust him. And don't come upstairs." At the time I thought she meant she didn't trust me climbing up there. Now I realized she meant Colin. She wasn't warning me about my son or about herself. She was warning me about the intruder living above my head. Daniel sank onto the couch, his hands covering his mouth. "So you're telling me," he said slowly, "that the man living in my mother's house was the same guy Anna got a restraining order against?" "Yes," Carson confirmed. "And from what we can tell, he's been here for a while." My mind spun. But another question rose above all the others. Why was Anna climbing into my house? Why was she slapping me, screaming for my keys, taking things from my kitchen? Why didn't she just tell me what was happening? Carson exchanged a look with Daniel, then with me. "We believe Anna wasn't trying to hurt you," he said carefully. "We believe she was trying to protect you." Protect me. From a man hiding in my attic. From someone who knew my home better than I did. Someone who had my spare key. And then something clicked in my memory with awful clarity. A week earlier, I had been in the backyard watering plants when I heard a faint metallic sound near the window. I dismissed it as a bird hitting something. But what if I had unknowingly walked into Colin's hiding place? What if he had been watching me every time I opened a door, or closed a window, or turned off a light? The thought made my skin crawl. Suddenly Daniel stood up, pacing. "But where is Anna now?" he demanded. "Why hasn't she called? If she knew he was here, if she came to warn us, why is she missing?" Carson took a breath. "We don't know. But we did find something in your attic that raises concerns." He opened a folder and handed Daniel a photograph. My stomach twisted when I saw it. A red sweatshirt. Anna's red sweatshirt. Folded neatly in a corner of the attic like someone had placed it there intentionally. And beside it, cell phone. Not Anna's main phone, but a smaller older one, cracked on the side like a backup. "That phone was wiped," Carson said. "No messages. No call history. No photos. Someone knew how to erase everything." Daniel swallowed hard. "You think he hurt her?" he whispered. "Don't you?" Carson didn't answer. Which was an answer in itself. I felt something inside me shift. Fear turning into cold fury. My home had been violated. My family infiltrated. my safety compromised. Anna had tried to warn me, tried to warn us, and we hadn't listened. Daniel clenched his fists. We're finding her. Today, he said. I don't care what it takes. He's not getting away with this. Carson nodded. We have officers searching the wooded area behind your house. Colin knew this neighborhood well. He could be hiding anywhere. I looked out my window. My quiet street. My peaceful garden. My little neighborhood that suddenly didn't feel safe anymore. And then I saw it. A small shape moving behind the oak tree at the corner of my yard. A man-shaped shadow. Watching. Not moving toward me. Not running away. Just watching. My heart slammed against my ribs. Because I recognized the posture, the tilt of the head, the way the body stayed unnaturally still. I whispered. He's here. He's here. The words slipped out of my mouth before I even understood them. Daniel and Officer Carson rushed to the window, following my trembling finger toward the oak tree at the far corner of my backyard. But when they looked, the shadow was gone. Where? Carson asked, scanning with trained eyes. He was right there, I insisted. Right by the tree. Watching the house. Watching me. Daniel shook his head, frustrated and afraid all at once. Mom, are you sure it was him? I know what I saw, I whispered. He wasn't moving. He was just staring. Like he had all the time in the world. Carson didn't hesitate. He went straight for his radio. This is Unit 4. Possible visual on suspect Colin Harris. Immediate perimeter search. He may be in the vicinity of Maple Drive. Proceed with caution. My heart hammered so loudly I felt dizzy. Several officers began sweeping the street minutes later, but the quiet suburb looked deceptively calm, the kind of place where danger should not exist. Daniel paced, running both hands through his hair. This is insane, he muttered. He was in the attic. He was using your spare key. He knows this house. That means he's been watching us for God knows how long. I swallowed a wave of nausea. Everything felt suddenly fragile. My home, my memories, my routines. Every moment I had spent alone, turning off lights, locking doors, watering plants. Had he been watching me then too? Tracking every movement. How did he become connected to Anna? I whispered. Why her? Why us? Daniel stopped pacing. I think she met him at work. Or maybe he followed her home one day. She must have told me she changed her routines, but I didn't understand why. I remembered Anna's eyes the day she slapped me. The terror in them. The urgency. I had mistaken it for anger. But now it made awful sense. Before we could speak again, Carson stepped back inside, breath short. No sign of him, he said. But we did find footprints leading into the wooded area. He's hiding, watching, and waiting for opportunities. Opportunities to do what? I whispered. That, Carson said quietly, is what we're trying to figure out. He placed a hand on my shoulder to steady me. We need to continue searching your house. Top to bottom. He could have left something behind. The idea of him leaving things behind felt worse than the idea of him hiding. What had he touched? What had he taken? What had he done when I wasn't looking? Carson and Daniel began inspecting each room more carefully, opening closets, checking corners, moving furniture. Everything that had once made me feel secure now felt sinister. It was in the laundry room that Carson stopped abruptly. Ma'am, he called. Did you place this here? He held up a single item. A glove. In black. Latex. The kind you wear so you don't leave fingerprints. I shook my head, horrified. No. That's not mine. Carson examined the shelf above the washing machine. There was a small indentation where something had been sitting. He followed the faint dust line with his fingers. Something else was here recently. Something small, metallic. My house key? Asked weakly. He nodded. She must have been trying to take it before he could get to it. The image hit me like a punch. Anna, desperate, frantic, racing through my home, trying to stay ahead of the man who was hiding above our heads. That wasn't aggression. That was fear. I leaned against the wall, overwhelmed. Daniel stepped closer to me, his voice cracking. She's been fighting him alone. Mom, she's been trying to protect us this whole time. Then Carson's radio crackled again. Unit 4, we found something in the woods. You need to come. Carson's expression tightened. We're going, he said. Daniel and I followed him out the back door toward the tree line. Officers were scattered among the pines and fallen branches, flashlights pointing down at the ground. One of them lifted a small plastic evidence bag. Inside was something unmistakable. A woman's necklace. My breath hitched. That's Anna's, Daniel said, his voice shaking. That's her necklace. I bought it for her birthday last year. The officer gestured forward. There's more. We followed the trail deeper into the woods. A cold wind pushed against us, carrying the faint smell of damp leaves and something metallic. At the base of a fallen log, another officer held up a second evidence bag, this time containing a torn piece of fabric. Dark green, embroidered white thread on one corner. I recognized it instantly. The sweater Anna had worn the day she disappeared. Daniel's face crumpled in horror. Carson knelt near the log, brushing dirt from a flattened patch of leaves, revealing disturbed soil. This spot was used recently, he said quietly. Something or someone was dragged. Every part of my body went cold. Dragged where? I whispered. An officer pointed along the ground. There's a trail, he said, leading farther in. Carson stood up and faced us. We're not stopping until we find her. But I need you both to stay behind now. This isn't safe. Daniel grabbed his arm. No, I'm coming. I stepped forward too, but Carson raised a hand. I'm serious. He could still be out here. He may be armed. We can't risk it. Officers moved deeper into the woods, following the trail of crushed leaves and disturbed branches. The forest slowly swallowed them. Daniel and I stood there, helpless, staring at the last place Anna had left any trace of herself. And a sound. A branch snapped somewhere deeper in the trees. Not where the officers had gone. Behind us. Daniel froze. Mom, did you hear that? He nodded. We turned slowly. And at the edge of the tree line, figure stood. Motionless. Watching. The same figure I had seen from my window. Cullen. And in his hand, something glinted. Something metallic. Something sharp. He took one step toward us. And whispered. So softly I almost thought I imagined it. You shouldn't have called them. For a moment the world stopped moving. The wind, the leaves, even the distant voices of officers deeper in the woods. It all faded into a heavy, suffocating silence as Colin stood there. His shoulders rose and fell with slow, deliberate breaths. His eyes were hollow, the kind of hollow that made my bones feel cold. Daniel stepped in front of me instinctively, one arm stretched back to keep me behind him. Stay back, he whispered. Don't move. But Colin took another step closer. The object in his hand finally caught enough moonlight for us to see it clearly. A knife. Long, thin. Sharp. My pulse pounded in my throat. My knees threatened to buckle. Every instinct screamed to run, but my body refused to move. Colin tilted his head like he was studying us, like we were specimens, not people. Then he smiled. It didn't have to be like this, he said softly. You just had to mind your own business. Daniel's voice was steady, but I could hear the tremor beneath it. Where is she, Colin? What did you do to Anna? Colin chuckled, a low, chilling sound. She didn't listen either. He took another step. We stumbled backward. My voice finally found its way out, shaking. Please, you don't have to do this. Police are here. They're everywhere. If you hurt us, you won't get far. His eyes flicked toward the direction the officers had gone. Oh, I know exactly where they are, he said. I've been watching them since they arrived. You called them too soon. She warned you, but you didn't listen. I swallowed hard. Anna warned me. Don't come upstairs. Don't trust him. She had known he was already inside my home. She had known what he was capable of. And she'd tried to save me despite everything. Daniel tried to keep his voice calm, controlled. Colin, you can still walk away. Put the knife down. We can talk. You're scared. Anna's scared. Everyone is scared. Scared. Colin interrupted, laughing under his breath. I'm not scared. I'm free. His smile widened, and that was somehow worse. You people don't understand, he said, almost conversationally. She was ruining everything. She kept trying to stop me, following me, watching me. She thought she was clever. Daniel's jaw tightened. What did you do to her? He repeated louder now. Colin's expression shifted. Annoyance, amusement, something dangerous blending together. She's nearby, he whispered. Closer than you think. I didn't want to hurt her, not at first. But she made things complicated. A gust of wind rustled the trees, and I jumped. My brain raced. I needed to think. I needed to keep him talking. The officers weren't far. Someone had to hear us eventually. I forced my voice out. You've been in my house, watching us, sleeping above my head. Why? What do you want? Colin blinked slowly, as if deciding how much he wanted to reveal. Peace, he said simply. A place no one could take from me. Your attic was perfect, quiet, hidden. And Anna, she always ruined things. She saw me. She followed me. She threatened to tell. He took a few steps to the side, circling us slightly. She thought you'd believe her. But she was wrong. You didn't even notice I was there. My stomach twisted violently. Daniel kept his eyes locked on him. Where's Anna now? Colin shrugged, almost bored. She's resting. My skin crawled. Daniel clenched his fists. I swear to God if you hurt her. Relax, Colin snapped. She's alive. For now. Felt sick. Colin glanced over his shoulder, toward the deeper woods. Toward where the trail of disturbed leaves had led. Come with me, he said, wagging the knife slightly. I'll show you. If you scream, I'll make sure you never find her. My entire body tensed. Go with him. Into the woods. Away from the officers. Daniel shook his head immediately. No chance. Done. Drop the knife. Colin sighed, disappointed. Wrong answer. He lunged. Daniel grabbed me and shoved us both to the ground behind a thick pine trunk. The knife sliced through the air, missing Daniel's face by inches. I screamed. Daniel rolled to the side, trying to pull me with him, but Colin was fast. Faster than I'd ever imagined. He moved like he knew these woods intimately, like he'd practiced every step. He slashed again. The blade grazed Daniel's shoulder, cutting through fabric. Daniel stumbled, pain flashing across his face. Mom, run! But I couldn't leave him. Not with Colin armed. Not with Anna still missing. I grabbed a thick branch off the ground, hands shaking violently, and swung it as hard as I could. It cracked against Colin's arm. He roared in pain, dropping the knife for half a second, but it was enough. Daniel kicked it away from him, sending it skidding into the leaves. Colin snarled and charged at me instead. I stumbled backward, hitting the ground. For a moment he was above me, his hands reaching for my throat. You ruined it, he screamed. You ruined everything. Police. Dropped to the ground. Flashlights exploded across the clearing. Officers swarmed in from every direction, weapons drawn. Colin froze, chest heaving, eyes wide and feral. Get on the ground, an officer barked. Colin looked from me to Daniel to the dark woods behind him. And then he did the thing I feared most. He ran. Straight into the trees. Officers chased after him, shouting commands, boots pounding the earth. Daniel crawled to me, pulling me into his arms. Are you okay? Mom, are you hurt? Could barely breathe. I'm fine. I'm fine. Your shoulder. It's nothing, he said, though his voice was tight with pain. Carson ran to us. Both of you stay here, he ordered. We're going after him. He won't get far. But as the officers disappeared into the woods, chasing the dangerous man who had hidden in my home for weeks. I realized something horrifying. Cullen didn't run at random. He ran in the direction of the trail. The same trail where Anna's necklace and sweater were found. He wasn't running away. He was running back to her. I always imagined that the final confrontation, the moment everything unraveled, would be loud, explosive, chaotic. But in reality, when the truth finally walked through my front door, it did so quietly, like a cold draft slipping in under a closed window. No warning, no thunder, just a sudden shift in the air that told me nothing would ever be the same again. For weeks, my daughter-in-law had tried to break me. She had slapped me, insulted me, accused me of stealing from my own son, manipulated him into doubting everything he had ever known about me. She had one goal: remove me, erase me, take my home, my security, and my son's trust in one vicious sweep. And for a while, I feared she had succeeded. My son had grown distant, confused, and ashamed. He questioned me about things I had never even imagined he'd believe. Lies she had spoon-fed him every night until he began mistaking them for memories. But what she didn't know, what she could never have predicted, was that the truth had been working its way quietly through the cracks. Someone else had seen her. Someone else had heard her. Someone else finally decided they couldn't stay silent anymore. And that someone was her own sister. It happened on a Saturday morning. I was sitting at the dining table, staring at the pile of documents my son had left with me. Everything from bank statements to fake proof of money transfers she claimed I had stolen. None of it made sense because none of it was real. But he had believed it anyway. Or at least, he wanted to believe her more than he wanted the discomfort of confronting the lies. Then came the knock. 3 soft, hesitant taps. When I opened the door, I froze. There she was, my daughter-in-law's younger sister, looking pale, anxious, almost shaking. "Can I come in?" she whispered. I stepped aside silently, still unsure if this was another trap. But the moment she sat down, clutching her phone, tears began to fall. "I can't let her do this anymore," she said. "I didn't know she would go this far." "Go how far?" I asked. She took a breath deep enough to steady herself. "She's been manipulating him for months. She wants your house. She wants everything transferred to his name so she can divorce him and take it all. That was the plan. She said it openly. She bragged about it." My hands went numb. "She even forged the bank documents," she continued, unlocking her phone. "She used a template from some online forum. I have screenshots, audio recordings, messages describing the plan in detail. Evidence. Real evidence. She doesn't love him," the sister said. "She loves control. And she hates you because she thinks you're the only thing standing between her and everything she wants." My chest tightened painfully. Not because of the lies, but because of the image of my son, tangled in her web, desperately trying to be a good husband while drowning in manipulation he didn't even recognize. None of what she showed me surprised me. But what she said next did. "She's leaving today," she whispered. "She packed secretly. She told me she's going to accuse you of attacking her so that he'll finally cut you off." I felt the room tilt slightly. "Where is she now?" I asked. "At your son's house," she replied. "Finishing her evidence." I didn't wait another second. When we arrived at my son's house, she was already outside. Suitcase open, phone in hand, tears streaming down her face in theatrical perfection. She saw me and instantly screamed. "Don't come any closer." She hit me again. "Call the police." Her sister stepped forward before I could. "Stop lying," she said. "It's over." My daughter-in-law froze. A single second of panic flickered across her face, quickly replaced by fury. "You traitor." But the sister didn't back down. "I recorded everything," she said firmly. "All of it. You can't hurt people anymore." My son stepped outside then, hair messy, face drained of sleep, confusion written across his features. He looked from his crying wife to her trembling sister, then to me. "What is going on?" he asked. And that's when the sister handed him the phone. He listened. He scrolled. He read. He replayed. And with every passing second, I watched his expression crack open like glass under pressure. Betrayal. Disgust. Disbelief. Then something softer, horrified realization. His wife lunged for the phone, but he stepped away. "Did you ever love me?" he asked her quietly. She didn't answer. She didn't have to. Her silence was louder than a confession. He screamed. He cursed. She threatened lawsuits. She accused everyone of betrayal. But my son didn't shout back. He simply stepped aside and pointed at the gate. "Leave." And just like that, the nightmare broke. She tried one last thing. She turned to me, spit venom and hissed, "You finally won." But I didn't respond. This wasn't a victory. This was survival. When she was gone, my son sat on the steps and buried his face in his hands. I sat beside him without speaking. After a long while, he whispered, "Mom, I'm so sorry." I placed my hand on his back gently. "You were trying to love someone," I said. "There's no shame in that." We stayed there until the sun began to set, our breaths steadying in the slow quiet of a home finally free from the storm. For the first time in months, I felt something I feared I had lost forever. And as we walked inside together, my son paused in the doorway, looked at me with soft eyes and said, "I want to come home for dinner again." He nodded. "Your home has always been here." And this time, he finally believed it. If you enjoyed this story and want more just like it, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. Your support helps these stories reach even more people. So don't forget to leave a thumbs up and subscribe before you go. If you enjoyed this story and want more just like it, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. Your support helps these stories reach even more people. So don't forget to leave a thumbs up and subscribe before you go.